Watch this incident. It takes down Nakajima. During his first season at Mercedes, Lewis Hamilton made a mistake by accidentally entering the pit box of his former team, McLaren. The McLaren mechanics were surprised to see him and signaled him to keep moving forward. So Hamilton noticed his mistake and went to the correct pit box, right? This incident cost him valuable time, although he managed to recover and finished in third place. Jerome D'Ambrosio lost control of his car and spun in the pit lane while heading in for his pit stop. Luckily, he avoided hitting the walls or mechanics, preventing an accident. The spin made him lose several positions, but he was able to continue and finish the race. Romain Grosjean hit one of the mechanics, who went flying. However, the mechanic quickly got up to keep working on the car and not affect the French driver's race. Luckily, he wasn't hurt and was seen laughing about it. Soon after, Nico Rosberg had an incident when one of his wheels wasn't fitted properly and came off as he was leaving the pit lane. The wheel flew off and traveled a long distance. Rosberg had to stop and retire from the race because of the problem. Lance Stroll braked too late and hit one of his mechanics, who was thrown and twisted his ankle. Fortunately, the mechanic was not seriously injured, but needed help returning to the team's garage. Stroll, who blamed the brake temperature, continued the race after the pit stop. When he came in for a tire change and refueling, Kazuki Nakajima ran over several mechanics, one of whom tried to keep working on the car but had to stop and be helped away. One of the mechanics made a mistake by giving the signal to leave the pit while the fuel hose was still connected to Juan Pablo Montoya's car. The mechanic tried to give the stop signal again, but Montoya had already accelerated and hit him, causing a foot injury. Once the Colombian driver left the pit, the mechanic had to be carried back to the team's box and fortunately did not suffer serious injuries. Heikki Kovalainen drove off with the fuel hose still connected to the car. This mistake caused a fuel leak that spilled onto Kimi Raikkonen's car, who was behind, causing a small explosion. Raikkonen was briefly engulfed in flames, but fortunately he did not suffer serious injuries and was able to continue the race, while Kovalainen was penalized with 25 seconds. David Coulthard, who was leading the Grand Prix, suffered an incident when his car slid. When entering the pits, he misjudged his entry speed and crashed into the pit lane wall. The impact severely damaged his car, leaving him out of the competition and ruining his race. Robert Kubica was released from his pit wall unsafely, just as Adrian Sutil was approaching his pit, which resulted in a collision. Both cars suffered significant damage. Sutil damaged his suspension, and Kubica had problems with his front wing. Both drivers retired from the race due to the incident. Sutil at the crash, and Kubica a few laps later when his suspension failed. Raikkonen and Kubica stopped at the pit lane exit due to the red light. Hamilton, who didn't see the signal, locked his wheels and crashed into Raikkonen. Rosberg, who was coming behind, also collided with Hamilton. This incident resulted in Hamilton and Raikkonen retiring, while Rosberg had to make an additional pit stop. Nigel Mansell was disqualified following an incident. The pit lane, when he missed the stop signal and trying to correct his mistake, he reversed, which was prohibited. Later, Mansell received the black flag, but he ignored it and a few laps later collided with Ayrton Senna, taking the Brazilian out of the race. Mark Webber had a major incident in the pit lane after a pit stop. One of his car's wheels was not fitted properly and came off as he was leaving. The wheel hit a cameraman who was injured and taken to the hospital. Luckily, his injuries weren't fatal, but he was seriously hurt, leading to Red Bull's €30,000 fine. Kimi Raikkonen had a serious incident when he started off too early after his pit stop, while the left wheel was still being changed. The car hit and seriously injured a mechanic, causing a fracture of the tibia and fibula in his left leg. The mechanic received immediate attention and was taken to the hospital for surgery. Meanwhile, Raikkonen was forced to retire from the race. while he was leading the race. Nigel Mansell made a pit stop but left prematurely, causing the right wheel to not be fitted properly and come off the car. Mansell stopped in the middle of the pit lane and the team changed the tire in a prohibited area, so he was disqualified. This critical mistake allowed Ayrton Senna to secure the championship, thus ending Mansell's hopes. What a Moutil and Jean-Marie. Bruni suffered a serious incident when his car caught fire due to a fuel leak. During refueling, the spilled fuel came into contact with hot parts of the car, causing a fireball. The mechanics acted quickly and extinguished the fire within seconds. Fortunately, there were no serious injuries, but Bruni got out of the car having trouble breathing due to the smoke. Eddie Irvine had a serious incident when his car caught fire due to a fuel leak. When starting, the spilled fuel came into contact with hot parts of the vehicle, causing a fire. Fortunately, there were no serious injuries. Jos Verstappen experienced a critical incident when his car caught fire due to a fuel leak during refueling. The spilled fuel hit hot car parts, creating a fireball that engulfed the car and nearby people. The mechanics acted fast and extinguished the flames in seconds. Fortunately, Verstappen and the pits team had only minor burns and no serious injuries. While leading the race, Lewis Hamilton had an incident when entering the pit lane, which defined the World Championship. Under rainy conditions, Hamilton tried to extend his stint with very worn tires when he finally entered the pits. His tires couldn't provide enough grip, causing him to slide and get stuck in the gravel at the entrance to the pit lane. This mistake took him out of the race and cost him crucial points that made him lose the championship, as he finished the season just 1 point behind in the championship. The champion Kimi Raikkonen. Felipe Massa had an incident that shaped the race and world championship. Massa was leading when he pitted during the safety car, but Ferrari's light system mistakenly signaled him to leave. Before the fuel hose was removed, the driver took off with the hose still attached, hitting mechanics and dragging it along the pit lane. Then he stopped at the end of the pit lane where the mechanics had to run to remove the hose, which cost him valuable time, and he refused it. World Championship? The championship, world championship, championship, world championship, the championship.